So I've been having a lot of fun with this new support in Slug and a couple others. Probably will be doing Baby Vegeta and as well as the swap and Hirudegan support and kind of talking through those, but really honestly with all of the green support and the direct Slug support that we're looking at right now, like Lord Slug is pretty damn good. And yes, you don't have to actually play the leader himself to actually get the effects for the new support, but in testing he has actually been really fun, not only for the draw power but also the consistent dropping of cards, and it's just ridiculous. Shout out to anybody who I've been playing on Untap so far. I've probably played this deck, or the deck that I've been building, for about a dozen times now. This is not so much of a deck profile. For one, it's 3 months away. Like the actual set 6 is 3 months away, maybe a little less than that. But at the same time, you know, this is just conceptual and still just one of those things to kind of keep an eye on. I'm definitely going to revisit this, most likely take the same deck that I'm looking at right now, or going to be showing, and then remake it come March. Anyway, so the first thing I kind of want to talk about is this man right here. So Wings the Morale Booster is an interesting name, but I would assume that it is something from the Lord Slug movie, but I don't remember at all, so I'm just not even gonna try. He's a 1 cost, 0 cost 5k combo with barrier, and automatically makes him good because his permanent is that you can only have 1 in play, but it does reduce the energy cost of a Lord or Slug's army cards, not Lord Slug itself, by 1. And this automatically, not only for this and the free blocker that I'm going to look at in a second, or we're going to look at in a second, automatically makes every single Slug card good. And there's a few reasons for every for all of that. And this is another reason why I was saying that Bandai is moving towards a very anti-barrier kind of meta, in which that, you know, a lot of good cards have barrier and they need to be removed. One thing that comes to mind is that new Goku, the SR Goku. So if you're going against like a green Goku leader, which I've played against quite a lot at this point in my life, definitely want to go ahead and watch out for him. Maybe keep 1 in hand and 1 in energy, that type of thing, or something like that, just in case you get KO'd. Next we have the 2-drop free blocker Zayun, I guess is his name, the Loyal, and like I said, is a free blocker. So if you have a Lord Slug in your battle or leader area, so again, that automatically makes it worth to make your leader Lord Slug instead. Not only that, but like the whole synergy behind everything just makes sense with the Lord Slug leader. But this is just really good because of the super rare Lord Slug. So if you haven't picked those up, by the way, definitely go pick those up in case you really want to play the Slug leader, which I recommend. And then finally we have the quick shift Angela, I do believe, and when you comment this card, your leader card is green. This can be any leader card, of course. You may choose 2 cards from your hand and shuffle into your deck, and if you do, draw 2 cards. This isn't directly really good for Slug, but I think for the engine itself, it's not bad, and I personally played 2. And just to cycle through my hand early on, just so I can keep my big slugs into the deck instead, and just so late game I can go ahead and get rid of whatever I don't need, and keep drawing and just cycle on through. Just in general, he's really good. You're probably not going to be playing him for 4, but because of the 1-drop barrier card, you can just go ahead and play him for 3, and a 3-drop 20k isn't too bad. And unless they remove it, you can still combo it off the battle area and still get the same effect. Alright, since we know all of that, let's take a look at the kind of test deck. Lord Slug has always been sort of a pet deck for me. It's always been something that I keep going back and played at locals or play online or whatever. Before I had a green-yellow Slug swap type of thing with the Super 17 engine, the Universe 7 with the Ultimate Box 17, and then the SR Goku from TOP, and it just kind of revolved around getting him out and then dropping their hand as much as possible, and then the yellow with a little bit of swap in there. So I think overall it was actually pretty fun. It was just not very consistent and just didn't beat many decks. But come this time around, we have a lot of good support. So we already know the stuff that we talked about before. So that includes the Wings, Anguilla, and as well as a free blocker. So all of these things, and you can take a look at the deck now in case you need any ideas for this. We have a lot of good stuff for the green archetype now. And of course we have the older Anguilla, the 3-drop that effectively becomes a 2-drop, and it is still pretty good. Like now that we have this guy who makes him into a 2-drop, it is kind of worth playing for a 2-drop critical that makes them neg a card from their hand pretty much every single time. Because what happens is that you play him turn 1, play him turn 2 or turn 3 or whatever you want to do, and then swing, and then they drop a card from their hand. If you by then you're awakened, that is pretty much 2 cards guaranteed for you to be dropping from their hand every single turn, and that is just stupid for 2 energy. And the other thing that's stupid is that now this man is a 2-drop, or a 1-drop that is, and I'm going to be going around a little bit, but I'll kind of just talk about the chain for now. And the thing is about this card is that this card automatically becomes amazing at the 1 cost space, or the 1 cost curve, or whatever you want to call it. And that's because this man can search out pretty much everything here, and of course the evolved target, which is this man right here. And this man, outside of him, the hill untap, outside of him, can redo and completely use recursion in order to get any of these guys back. And of course we have him, but I'll talk about him in a second. So this is what usually happens, is that you have him out, and then that's either turn 1 or turn 2. And if you have multiple ones in your hand, you can always just use them for energy, unless you're going against something that removes barrier cards. Then just go ahead and don't do that. And then you got this guy. He is a free blocker. No matter what, he is always going to be useful, not only for the bond effect for Anguilla, where you just go ahead and play him, and you play him, and now you have the bond effect, because now this counts as a card in play for bond. And then this guy has the other the Slug's Army character trait. And then you got this guy who can play for 1, and you can search out either the Anguilla. I'm just not even gonna try this 4-drop. If you need some sort of cycling, because you can go ahead and cycle this man or whatever, because you still have this man out on the field or in your hand. Because now you can go ahead and use this for defense. You play this guy for 1, and then you can just shuffle or get these guys back into your hand afterwards. After you shuffle with this guy. So I mean, that is just silly to me. It's just overall very, very silly, but very, very effective. And now for this man, this only requires a bond 2, which I thought it was a bond 3, but I was just like, oh, bond 2, that's busted. As soon as you play him, and with him on the field, because he is a Slug's Army at the bottom right, you play him for 3. And then the effect is that if your leader card is a Slug Army, you choose 1 Slug's Army from your drop area for 3 or less and play it, and you choose 1 of your energy and switch it to active mode. That is just silly, because now you have a number of options. Obviously you can't play him again, but you can play a blocker that you use him, if you used him, as like blocker fodder, basically. So you use him as a blocker, and then he dies and he goes to drop, and then you use him to get him right back. Or you can get him, and then since you have that for that effect, you can go in and attack for critical, and then make them neg a card from their hand. And yes, it is every time they attack. It is just silly. And then you have this man, in case you used him as combo fodder or whatever, you dropped him from your hand, which, by the way, if you didn't know, this man, you take 1 life, gains critical, and you draw 2. On the other awakened side, you place 1 from your hand to the drop area, and then they have to choose 1 and place it to the drop area. Of course, it attacks and draws. So the other thing is that not only that, is that everything kind of works with it, and this is exactly where Slug should have been when he came out. But I see why they were waiting and see what the effects on the meta for it. But now everything is everywhere. Everybody can play anything, and now that Slug has his support for his archetype, I can see why they wanted to wait. Not only that, the green got shown some love, and I'll go over that in a second. But really, that is the biggest thing, that you can drop this guy, or drop this guy into the drop, play him for 3, and then untap 1, effectively a 2-drop, and then play him out, search out this 4-drop or a 3-drop or 2-drop free blocker to fulfill the EX evolve target or requirement, etc, etc. And now that we have that, this for 2 energy is silly as hell. Like, it is just silly that this is a card when all of this exists. Now, this is the reason. So the turn 1, 2, 3, or whatever you want to, your game plan basically is that you take life, you attack, you critical, The majority of the time they're always going to waste a card or they're going to take the crit. It's either one. We have a couple Champas in here. If you want to use a Champa, you can use a Champa, but most of the time you don't. But the first thing you do when you want to put this man out, if they're playing green or something sort of removal, you don't want to play him, but you want to play on the turn that you do need a bond requirement. But I haven't played this man too much, but when I have played him, he is very effective for a 2-drop, so just keep that in mind. But really, the other thing is that you play him for 1, keep another one open for energy for some sort of counter or of that sort. And I was going to go over in a second, but Wrathful Charge with any of these cards is actually really good, because you play him, you negate the attack, and then you choose one of your battle cards into the drop area, and they choose one from your hand into the drop area, and then basically any of these guys can be recurred with this man. So that's just silly. Anyway, so after you do that, you get this man with this man, and then you play him for 3 energy, and then you untap 1 and you play something that either you use this effect to drop into the drop area and then you play it for free, or you can just use any of the ones that you had the target for after you use Wrathful Charge or something of that sort. And of course, again, like I said, you can always get the 4-drop. But really, after you do all of that, because it's only 2 energy to EX evolve on top of him, like, people always tend to forget, like, since he doesn't have double strike, he doesn't have anything else, he's just there, he's just 4-drop 20k. People don't really see him as a target. I don't attack with him unless I absolutely have to. And then you just pay 2 energy and 1 card from your hand. Again, one of the things that I'm like, that kind of benefits this deck. And then after you do that, you usually have this man, and then maybe another card, and then the card itself that counts as bond. But that's just, you know, that's just how the board usually is. And then you make them drop 3 cards from their hand into the drop area. Now, where this is stupid is that you can EX evolve multiple times, because this says 4 or more. It doesn't say 4. I don't know if this is going to be costly for errata, because you have to pay 2 energy and 1 card from your hand. Surprisingly enough, this has a really good draw power, but at the same time, you do end up negging a lot of cards from his effect and then EX evolve, and then other things like Super 17 if you play him. But I have multiple times played him twice in a row because I had two of these guys in my hand, and then 4 energy in total. Or, you know, I draw into another one, they neg 3 cards from their hand, 1 more card from my leader, and then the next turn 3 more cards because I play on top of him, and I swing for double strike, etc, etc. It is stupid. Anyway, that is the biggest thing here as far as this goes. For the engine, that is. But we have so many other things that that green has now. So from preemptive strike, which 2 energy, and instead of them being played, it goes to drop instead. So like if you know they're going to be chain attacking, this automatically nullifies that effect instead of being played. So what happens is that they play on top, or they play for chain attack, or they evolve on intensifying power trunks. You can play a preemptive strike right after, and then instead of the effect being put off, or like going off, basically it goes to the drop area. So that's my understanding of the ruling, and that's how I've been playing, because it literally says instead of being played, preemptive strike is a beast. So there you go. And of course, we already went through Wrathful Charge. We also have this cantrip, Sun Gohan. Again, I told you before in the previous video that I went over these cards, the SR cards, that this is going to be one of those cards that people are going to be sleeping on, and then later on going to be figuring out that, oh, this is a pretty good card, and the price is going to go up. And I'm like, okay, well, there you go. Anyway, so this kind of plays into the hand denial archetype with the activate main and pay 2. And just having a +1 draw and replace it itself, and then a Wrathful Charge target, it is just so good. And of course we have Super 17, you can just play him for 4, it's not that big of a deal to neg 2. This deck really lacks removal, that's why I put in the Kami. You really don't need that until later on into the game. Of course, Shocking Death Ball is there. I play 4-2 split for this one, mainly because I am focusing on negging their hand as much as possible and as frequently as possible. And doing that sometimes, like I've gotten people down to 0 cards or 1 and 2 cards from their 10, 11 cards multiple times. It is just wild the way that this engine and everything else works and how much green has really gotten support for. But if you are thinking that you need more removal than anything, I would do a 4-2 split instead and then just switch them back around. The Shenangians is actually really good in this deck. It's mainly because now you have a double striker, but you don't really want to give him too many cards afterwards. So really you can just give him a critical and then draw and then plus 5k. So now he's at 30,000 double strike critical, or you can give him the double strike and critical with no negates. So I mean that's always a thing, right? And of course we have Toa, which you know, boosts the attack leader, the attack for the leader, and is just overall a really good card. And finally Paragus, because he awakens so quickly, this is just such a good defense card. I was playing it wrong where I send one to the warp first instead of drawing two, but it's the other way around, and that's what makes this card extremely good. And basically you just draw two and then you send one to your warp. Yes, it doesn't go to the drop where, you know, like Hoi or Hellas would be a little bit better in that respect, which, you know, if you're playing the Piccolo leader with this same engine without the 4-drop or with the 4-drop, it wouldn't be too bad, especially with his special beam cannon. But that's just, you know, that's just another thought. Anyway, for him, it's just so good. Like this whole thing is so good. This didn't really mean to be a deck profile of sorts, but you can use this deck and try it out either on Octagon or Untap. We have a few months away for this. This is more of a DBS Shenanigans than anything, and I'm more than happy to talk through it and find out more ideas. And that's why I make these type of videos, to find out more and more ideas and kind of spread the knowledge of wealth, the wealth of knowledge. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the new support. Let me know what you think as far as other cards that could be used in this type of deck or for the Lord Slug leader, and what you've been actually brewing up. Like, dislike, comment like I was saying before, and subscribe if you are new. I'll see you in the next one. Most likely gonna be Baby, the swap, or the Rudigon video. Later.